Hello and welcome to another live coding session for Runes of Aereal. This is the third video on the interface for crafting, and now we'll be continuing on the left part of this crafting interface, where we have two buttons here at the top called spellbooks and items, and depending on where the user clicks, he will get spellbooks, the spellbooks which are in the inventory, of course, or items which are in the inventory. That's what we're going to do. The first thing we need to realize is that this crafting station was copied from the inventory interface and adapted slightly, but it's still using the event sheet for the inventory. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new event sheet and call it crafting station as well. And in the crafting station here, we're going to change this up to crafting station. So they are now linked together. And what I'll do is close some stuff up here. So we can essentially open up the inventory part here as well, because we're going to be copying some stuff from the inventory section here to the crafting station. So what we're going to start by doing is include the variables, just like we did here, and then we're going to have some interaction as well here. So here we have this mouse hover logic, which we should have as well, of course. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to create a group here saying crafting station interaction. This is everything for the interaction, and the interaction, the mouse hover is part of that. We call it function clear inventory buttons. That's actually not the idea, but we'll have to create our own function for the crafting station, of course, because clear inventory buttons is not something that is defined in this context. We could have included inventory, of course, but that would not be very clean. I'm going to create my own function clear crafting buttons, for example, to do the same thing. But we need to realize that these crafting buttons here, we really want to do that with the crafting buttons. These crafting buttons are these buttons here on top. They both have context called menu, which is great. And we'll need to include a variable that says current crafting station selection, which is a string. Put that there. Let's start with spellbooks, and when the mouse cursor is over a menu button and the context is menu, which is true, what should we do? Then we should check if the current crafting station selection equals that menu button's action. Then we set that opacity to 100, else we set it to 30. But we should see this action is spellbooks, this action is crafting. Let's put it in items. And then here we have items as well, spellbooks as well. So that's great. So here we have ID spellbooks, here we have action spellbooks, again ID items and action items. So that's how we identify those two buttons and how we select those two buttons here in this interface. We still need this function, so let's create a group called crafting station functions. We'll put that there. and I'm going to add a function, clear crafting station buttons, category crafting station. I'm making a sub event using the B key because I like to collapse functions like that. And then I say quick by evaluate menu button, and the expression is menu button dot context equals menu. And what we do then is set the opacity, to 0. So what we're going to do now is add another function that says switch crafting station selection, for example. Here, crafting station, and we'll have a parameter called bar selection, which is a string. So the first thing we'll do is set the value current crafting station selection equals bar selection. So that should effectively change this to this menu button here. When we clear, we still need to clear here this functions clear crafting station buttons. Let's copy that, and then what we want is a mouse on object clicked and menu button, and we only want that if we click on something on the menu, with the context menu, so this one here. And then what I say is functions switch crafting station selection, which with bar selection, the menu button dot action, of course. So we pass in this action whenever we click the menu button. What happens then is the current selection changes, and as we're hovering over a mouse or not, with our mouse over a menu button or not over a menu button, these selections will change. So I think we're done here. So actually we should start off with this black and white text. If we hover over this one, it should be 30% opacity. Only if we click, then should this switch. So we still have some things to do. So let's see. So when we clear, so what we want to do is when we clear, we set the opacity to 0, but we should not do that for the menu button, which action is this current selection here, I think. So I'm going to add another condition. I just pressed the C on the keyboard. Compare two values, say the menu button dot action should be different from current crafting station selection. Then we're not going to set the opacity to 0. And what we're going to do is upon selection, just before that, we're going to menu button set opacity to 100. Let's see what that does. Why does that not work? So it seems to be deselecting that. Okay, so it's probably here. Well, we just need to say that the menu button dot action is different from the current crafting station selection. And delete on this one here. And just to make sure, let's add an event here on start of layout where we explicitly switch crafting station selection to spokes. So this is automatically selected. Okay, that nicely does it. The only thing is this needs to be white, of course. So we're going to be searching how should we select this. So category equals crafting station and ID equals the action. So we'll add another condition here. Press the C on the keyboard and then again make by evaluate. And we pick the generic text, for which we say generic text dot category equals crafting station and ID different from no wrong shit, sorry, generic text ID different from current crafting station selection. That's it. And then we want it black, of course. Generic text set font color to black. I think this is black. I'm always mistaken here. And here also want the opacity 100 and I want it white. Okay, let's see what that does. Okay, great. We're also doing this, which is not the idea. We're also doing this, which is not the idea. And upon start, it was not black. Was it? Let's test it. Let's see, it's white. So what we should do is maybe we should put this in here so that also activates whenever this is called here on start of layout. So now this full opacity and setting it to white only happens when we click and not on the start of layout, so that's the problem. So that can easily be fixed by adding a submenu here, subs event rather, and then we again, actually what we need to do is exactly this, but instead of different from, we need equals to. We need to select that selection, and then we need to do cut and paste. Let's see that. That's indeed what I want. Of course, what I don't want is that those items become white as well, and this button should behave differently. So this is not context menu, but context craft. The action also craft. And here category category generic, whatever, doesn't really matter. Okay, what does it do? Okay, only this becomes white. This should not become white. Let's make it white. Like that. And category, not crafting station. Let's do something like craft. So it's totally independent of the other buttons. Shouldn't come along and do anything. Okay, that's it. So perfect. So that's for the buttons here up top. Okay, so now for the next part, when we select a button, this interface here, the scope also change. So this means that we have this thing to fill up, these placeholders to fill up. I'm not going to invent the wheel again here. I'm going to go towards the refresh inventory here. And I'm going to go and copy this var counter because we will need it to loop. And we're going to do something like this when selection is crafting or spellbooks. And we're going to sub-event like this. And actually it's, according to me, items. I think. Let's check. If we click this, we're going to get items. So if the selection we get is items, then we do this, namely we loop over the inventory crafting. We make a crafting on the content layer. We make the crafting key. We pick the placeholder. We set it to the position. We pick that last created crafting key here. We make a preview text just below the placeholder. We set the category to label. And we set the crafting name in below that. And we do exactly the same with spellbooks. Inventory, loop through the spellbooks and show something. That's it. Just by copy pasting that. And now we don't see anything. But that's normal because there's, according to me, nothing at all in those inventory data items. So we see here in data, this is the inventory crafting, this is the inventory spellbooks. At the start of this layout, nothing is in there. Nothing is in there is not 100% correct according to me. I think there is like 10 zeros or something standard in that dictionary, but I'm not sure. What I'll do, however, is go here and start a layout. And I'm going to inventory crafting, mushroom. Let's do that. Let's check in the crafting if it's called mushroom stuff. Crafting. Crafting mushroom, crafting worm, empty scroll, caterpillar, something like that. Worm, empty scroll. Caterpillar. And in the inventory spellbooks, we're going to add a key. Spellbook 1, spellbook 2, and spellbook 3. Let's see what that gives. Alright, that's something already. Two things happening here. The first thing I'm surprised about, it's not showing anything right now. So, oh, that's normal. We should switch after we populated the inventory, of course. That's it. We still don't see this one here. Yes, it's because it was spellbook 4 or something. Let's do that. Yep, alright, that's it. Okay, the second thing is it's not removing anything, just keeps on adding stuff. So it's pretty easy. We add a sub event and we do this here. Let's do this above here. And then we say we pick all crafting, destroy. And we do the same thing. R4 replace, and we say spellbooks. We do that. Oh, we're not removing the labels. So this is the preview text with category label. And yet again we make a sub event and we pick our evaluate preview text dot category equals label preview text destroy. Let's try that. Okay, that's better. That's exactly what I want. So this concludes the third part of this video series on crafting. Make sure to catch the next few videos to see how to finish up on this. As always, please like, please subscribe, and if you want the source code for this project, please make sure to support me on my Patreon page. See you later.